Hello, Scott B, Queen C, Maggie. Good evening. Welcome to the stream. Janice, Laura, Lori, Kevin. Welcome to the stream. I hope we are all having a great Sunday. Scott, I'm doing okay. I hope you are. K-Tween B-U-N-U B2U. RJ. Michael. What's up, dude? Not much. Just waiting for people to pop in here. We'll get this party started. Tonight we're talking about, as it says on the screen, serial killer and spree killer trophy hunters. I'm going to take Wanda. Good evening. Hey, look, there we have serial, as in breakfast serial killer. I actually used to have a T-shirt that showed a crossbone and skull, and it said serial killer, just like the your name there. I sold quite a few of those shirts through my Teespring store. I don't offer them anymore, but they were a pretty hot seller. I might offer them again. Hi, Cement Shoes, Mike Stevens. Oh, welcome to the membership, Short Nice. Short Nice, now that you're a member, there is, I think, 160 or maybe it's 170 videos that are only available to channel members. And so you have access to all those now that you're a channel member. It becomes immediately, after right now. So, I mean, you can watch the live stream first, but then you could binge watch 170 videos that nobody else gets access to except for other members. Linda, welcome. And then Linda Jorgensen, welcome. Tracy Ann, hello. All right, so we're gonna talk about serial killers and spree killer trophies. Now, serial killers, along with other aspects of people who commit serial crimes. It's not, collecting trophies is not just something that only serial killers and spree killers collect. There have been several serial rapists who have collected trophies from their victims. And they could be anything from tissues to driver's license to locks of hair to photos of their family off the walls. Depending upon where they are and what takes their fancy. And some collectors, even child predators, to some extent, do collect trophies. They may collect photographs, and it's psychologically, it's a way of remembering the victim and remembering the crime for these people, and they relive their fantasies and what they did through these actual trophies. So they can go back through a box of mementos. Maybe they collected, jewelry, and they can remember each and every victim by, the items that they actually collected. But I selected a dozen serial killer and spree killers to talk about tonight that collected other things other than jewelry or tissues or driver's license or locks of hair. Each and every one of these dozen that I selected collected a little bit more of the macabre items, and some of them even collected body parts of their victims. So I thought we'd jump into it. And yep, and you've got Ed Ginn is on there. You've got him right, Kevin. Hi, Didi. Yeah, Red Rum. Where was I today? I was online someplace. I can't remember what it was. It was a website. where I was, and they were actually promoting your YouTube channel, Red Rum. Feed Spot, maybe it was Feed Spot. I can't remember, but it was something like that. It was a website that I was reading an article. I wasn't even looking for YouTube channels or anything like that, and I just happened to notice on the sidebar that it actually had different true crime channels that are on, and those who talk about true crime on YouTube, and yours was like number 2 on the list. I just found it interesting that I'm like, oh, look, there's Red Rum. Okay, so first off, the first serial killer on the list is John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, the reason for him, what he did, is completely separate. I mean, we'll never get into the psychology and understand exactly why Gacy did what he did, but his trophies were the actual bodies themselves. And one of the reasons why he started burying people under his house, besides it was just easier than having to bury them in the backyard, was he wanted to keep his victims, and they were the trophies themselves, in his actual crawl space underneath his house and in his basement area, like area underneath the house and underneath the garage. He put them just about everywhere. He stacked them on top of each other, as a matter of fact. A clown freak, yeah. Gacy was definitely, out of all the serial killers that I've ever read about, Gacy had, there were a lot of signs that something seriously was going to be going wrong. And when he was even a kid, when he was a child and he was abused and he was beaten up, I mean, all these things are like the precursors. He started torturing animals when he was a young child, and it's like, wow, you couldn't ask for a more of a textbook, definition of a serial killer, somebody who was going to violently act out against society. Yeah, he may have been Rotarian of the Year, small business owner of the year. He might have dressed up like a clown for kids' birthday parties and stuff like that. But I don't know if I would have hired him. Who is it? Pogo the Clown? I think it was his alter ego. Arthur was good too. I don't have an Arthur on the list tonight, though. I'm not sure which Arthur you're talking about. Connie Kelly. There was a serial killer in Rochester, New York area with his little girl. Arthur Sawcross. Oh, Sawcross. Yeah, I know who Arthur Sawcross is. Sawcross was definitely. I didn't put him on the list, but I could have definitely put him on this list because he collected trophies as well. But back to Gacy. Gacy collected the actual bodies themselves. They were his trophies. And each and every one of his victims that he killed, he took an actual physical item, maybe something from their pocket, their wallet, their driver's license. He took something from each of them and kept it, in a box, a shoebox, matter of fact, upstairs in his bedroom. So, he collected, they were the trophies themselves in his eyes. Next is Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. I don't know if you guys remember Richard Ramirez. You probably have heard the name. But Richard Ramirez kept jewelry, clothing, and scarves. Ladies' scarves. He loved to collect scarves. Rosalind Carter would be the type. Hi, Interpeas. Leah 231, Red Realm. Yep. I believe the channel is made up of a husband and wife true crime PI duo. Well, I mean, look at the, when Gacy had his picture taken, and at that point in time in his life, though, he wasn't the person that we knew him to be, later on. Jim Jones, of the People's Temple down there who what he convinced, 200 some or whatever the hell the number was, people to commit mass suicide. You know, he was very well connected politically with the Carters and with Reagan. You know, people had a lot of great things to say about him when he was in California before they fled there because you know, they believed that the government was out to get them. Debbie Gilligan, Will, so happy to hear you tonight. How's the family? How's little man doing? Doing pretty good, Debbie. My son's currently trying to destroy my house right now. His big sister just happened to have about 3 hours off of between, you know, going to work and getting ready for work. So she's in there right now inside the house watching him. My wife's not home right now. Nurse Bev, welcome. Russell Williams broke into homes and stole lingerie, took pictures of himself wearing it. Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah, he did a lot more than just that. But yeah, that was one of his things. He was a cross-dresser, you know, but he also there's issues with him where he really hated women. He had a very big disdain for women overall. But Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, again kept IDs, driver's license, tissues, hair, combs, makeup, and toothbrushes. He wanted something personal from each and every victim. And he kept quite a collection of you know, and not even all the people it would end up you know, committing crimes against. He would break into homes and just steal things, bizarre, you know, useless stuff, you know, from trash cans, because he wanted to be connected close to these people. I lived 2 hours from where he lived. Nurse Beth, wow. Next one, Samuel Little, the most prolific serial killer, depending upon how you look at the definition of it. But he confessed to 96 total murders, and they've only been able to confirm 60 some, you know, at this point. But Samuel Little kept trophies. He kept jewelry, and he kept other personal items from each and every one of his victims. And even while he was in he just recently passed away in the penitentiary hospital there. But all his time that he committed crimes, and as he traveled the United States, he had stored away and stashed a lot of these items. And the FBI is not releasing where the information of where he stored these items at, because, you know, they didn't even know he collected trophies from them until, you know, he was actually talking to the ranger, Texas Ranger, I guess, from about, you know, the crimes, who he believed was his friend, and the guy just kept on showing up and talking. I mean, he just, like, they'd have pizza and Dr. Peppers and just talk about, you know, the crimes that he committed over his lifetime. But he kept jewelry and other personal items. If I ever take office in the States as president, or ever become a PM here in Canada, that PM, that prime minister, I'm just guessing. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that is. Sounds like Israeli keys. Yeah. Debbie Mayhew. I will. Thanks for your videos. Never miss them. Well, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. Nurse Bev. I hope I don't miss anybody. But anyways, moving on to the next one. And then we're going to get, some of these are going to get really macabre here for a little bit. Next is Charles Albright. Do you remember who Charles Albright is? Well, Charles Albright would take the eyes out of his victims. eyes, and he'd take random photographs of the individual. He would actually had a camera, and he would take pictures of the actual victims because he wanted to actually relive them through photographs. Hello, Linda. Oh no, serial kills. RN student forensics. Welcome. Never heard of Charles Albright? Ugh. Yeah. Well, if you want a really macabre reading, you should read up on Charles Albright. Hugs for 411. Oh, thank you. Leah 231. I appreciate that. Next one on the list is Ed Gein. And of course, we know all about Ed Gein. Ed Gein kept the skin, jewelry, and pictures. Those were his trophies. Ed Gein had he wanted to make a face skin. He would keep all kinds of the wig that he had made. He used, from what I understand from the FBI files, is that the wig that he made, he used it was part of like several different victims' hairs all tied together. And it wasn't tied together in a great way, kind of like Buffalo Bill would, from Silence of the Lambs would, go into great detail to make these things and, and make sure they were stitched together properly. Ed Gein was, very sloppy. He would just take and knot sections of hair together until it made like a jumbled mess, and that was kind of like a wig for him. Ed Gein is like the Joel Guy Jr. Eyes awful. It's because the eyes are the way to the soul. Yep. For Charles Albright, they were for him. He wanted to keep that trophy of them forever. He was one sick puppy, and it doesn't get any better from here. And we know who the next one is going to be, since we're on that sick and macabre road. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer kept hair, the head of one of his favorite victims, and the genitalia of more than one victim. Jeffrey Dahmer. Linda Harper. Hello, everyone. Hello, Linda. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you could be here today. Virtual hugs, Will. You have a great channel, my friend. Well, thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that. Ed Kemper is one man freak show. That barbershop quartet mustache. Yeah. And speaking of Ed Kemper, he's next. Ed Kemper collected several different items. He didn't collect the same item from any one victim. For Ed, it was more about the individual item, what he would think was important to the individual. He kept a key. He kept photographs, not that he took, but photographs that he would take from the victim themselves. Maybe they had a picture of themselves and somebody else in their wallet or purse. He would take, and he'd keep those mementos. He never collected the same thing 2 times in a row. Like it wasn't like he was fascinated with a car key or a house key or a photograph. It was something random from each and every one of his victims and the people that and not just people he killed, people he stole a lot of shit. Sorry for my language, but he did. He stole a lot of stuff over the years. Gary Ludwig, yeah. Well, Dahmer had a 55-gallon drum in his apartment. He actually had several, but he had one that he would cut the body parts up on, and he did it in the bathroom in the tub a lot, and then he would the parts that he wanted to keep, he would either keep in his refrigerator or he would keep in that one particular barrel that was in the bathroom itself. One of his victims, he eventually ran out of room to store his victims, and one victim laid in the bathtub for quite a while, and he just showered and didn't care about that person. They were just in the middle of the tub. He just showered and did his business like he would normally. He was also used as a serial killer, Ed, that they learned from. I started eating chocolate because of Jeffrey. Yummy. Next one is Jerome Brudos. 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 Does anybody remember him? Jerome Brudos. He had a foot fetish. And not only would he kill his victims, but he would cut off their toes. He would keep their feet. He kept the feet of more than one victim. I do believe it was 3, but he kept at least 1 foot from 3 different individuals. But otherwise, he would take a pair of garden snips and cut off a toe from each of his victims. And that was one of his downfalls. That was one of the things that how the police were able to put all the cases together, because his MO of how he got his victims and how he killed them were never the same. And if it wasn't for the fact that he cut off their toe, they never would have known that it was the same person. So it actually helped the police zero in on him a lot quicker than it would have. He would have gotten away with a lot more. You think Ramirez, Linda? You think Ramirez was the worst? Yeah, Richard Ramirez really scared the hell out of California at that time. Yeah, nobody was safe anywhere, and it really pissed him off if you locked your house. And it's like, but he wanted to punish people for not locking their houses, but it pissed him off if the house was locked. And next one is, and last one is good old Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy kept trophies. According to Elizabeth Kendall, his longtime girlfriend, or whatever the hell she really was, she says that they were engaged, but Ted Bundy, according to Elizabeth Kendall, he kept the head of his victims. Ted Bundy. You think these days it's harder to be a serial killer with all these cameras? No. To answer your question, and I'm being absolutely honest with you, Short and Nice. They know, the FBI knows right now that there are at least 9 serial killers working in the United States right now, actively. They are out there. 9. They may only pick one victim, or get one victim every, 5 months or 3 days or whatever, depending upon their duration of how long it takes them to satisfy their thrills and their desires. But they know that there are active serial killers all over the United States. And don't think that you're alone, Canada, because, don't forget about the Highway of Tears. There are, if anybody wants to read about something that is truly disgusting and sad, it's the Highway of Tears. And in Canada, they know that there have been serial killers who have been working that stretch of highway for so long, because they've been finding bodies along that highway for so long. It's not even. I mean, I'd have to go back and refresh my memory of it all, but They're everywhere. They're in Mexico. They're in the UK. They're in, the former Soviet Union. The serial killers are everywhere. Wherever there are people, there is somebody out there that's doing it. Bundy, it's Friday. I remember that when they were going to electrocute Bundy, that it was something like 6,000 or 7,000 people turned off the electricity to their homes so they would have enough juice to fry him. Bundy, another one. Can't forget him. Yeah, Gianna Marie. Yeah, Bundy. He was he wasn't one of the ones that people necessarily think of when they think of that's like the killing fields in Texas. Some issues, yeah. There is a couple other areas in the United States that where they know that they haven't been able to definitively say that serial killers are working, but along the Cascade Mountain Range on the Idaho side, they have found a lot of remains of humans, but until they can find an entire skeletal remains, a lot of them they believe that animals have scavenged the bones and they're spread all over, but they believe that there was a serial killer who was hunting somewhere from like the Boise, Idaho area up to the top of the Panhandle, who was dumping bodies in that area in the mid '80s. But they've never been able to definitively say this is who it was, or that it was even one person. It could have been more than one. Was living in Montreal until people figured out she was there. Okay, Nurse Bev, RN. She has like 3 kids. I must have missed something there. BTK was another one who still makes me wonder who my your old neighbors are. Yeah, bind, torture, kill. Didn't necessarily collect trophies from his victims, though. Some victims he did, and other victims he just his entire thrill was to torture. He wanted to torture people because he felt that but that torturing people would somehow relieve him of the anguish and pain that he felt within inside. That's why he wanted to strike back and torture people. But he was a sick sucker. Now, one of the other ones that I have on the list here is the Zodiac killer, whoever the Zodiac killer really is or was. I mean, past tense. But several of the victims with the Zodiac killer, they never really, at that time when the Zodiac killer was active, you have to remember a lot of serial killers who were actively hunting people and killing people. The FBI didn't necessarily know about trophies back then. They didn't say, okay, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, they didn't say, well, you know what? This is the MO of a serial killer, and these are things that serial killers do, or other people who commit serial crimes. But the Zodiac killer, he took several items from victims. Well, the first couple that was shot and killed in their car keys were taken, and I believe another one was the purse of one of the females was taken. So it kind of made them think, well, maybe robbery was the motive before they started putting it all together in the letters, and he started taunting the police and everything else, and the writers, letters to the newspaper. But yeah, he's on the list. But that I was trying to research each and every one of the victims, and I couldn't, trying to find the information in the FBI files about each one. It's hard to say that he collected from each person, because they don't have a complete profile on the Zodiac. You would think that they would have after all these years. The Lost Girls movie talked about the girls in the upper scale hood that were killed. The killing is still a large, never found out who the killer was. The Lost Girls. Yeah, I've read about. I think that's the case that I read about earlier. Yeah, well, the Zodiac killer, they think they know who it was, but they never were able to definitively prove that he was it. But I mean, it wasn't until just this past year that they finally were able to break his cipher, so they could decode his letters. It was just, I mean, literally not even maybe 2 months ago, 3 months ago, or if that. Maybe it was even less than that, maybe a month ago. But I just remember reading about it briefly in the paper that they finally were able to break his cipher to figure out what his stupid letters meant. One of the best books I've ever read was Robert Graysmith's Zodiac. Magnum 500. The second I hear a shot, I will drive behind her and hope that I hear her fire afterwards. Okay. There are people that are still to this day trying to find out that one is. Yeah. Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper was just a killer. Again, they don't have a complete profile on Jack the Ripper. Was Jack the Ripper? And some of the cuts they say were surgical in nature, so they believe that the Jack the Ripper may have had medical training. And I mean, could have been somebody who then moved to America. There's been a lot of guesses that and a lot of speculation of who Jack the Ripper is over the years. But what's interesting is the FBI is now going back and putting each and every one of the profiles. Okay, this is what we know they do. Someone who's a serial killer, did they collect trophies? And they have a checklist now where they can go through and say, all right, did this person do this thing? And they're still going through the files of each and every serial killer that's ever been caught. Now, this is the serial killers that have been caught. Again, we know that there are serial killers who will spend their entire lifetime hunting and killing other people, and they've never been caught. Otis Toole, Yorkshire Ripper, Dodge Den. Welcome to the stream, Dodge Den. Hello, Sunshine. Hi, Will. You're looking good tonight and on point. Well, thank you. Hello, Sunshine. I'm glad you could be here today. And drama must remain on stage. Welcome to the stream. Linda Harper, you think you need a gun? If you get a gun, make sure you get trained on how to use it properly and safely. I think the Second Amendment should be first rather than my Mag 500 than free speech. I have a huge problem when it comes. I'm going to answer that. Connie Kelly, I have a huge problem with Charles Manson ever being considered a serial killer at all. Charlie never got his hands dirty for the most part. For the most part, he never got his hands dirty. He got other people to do his bidding for him. And when it came to, if he wanted drugs, and there is a huge possible connection that has come to light, especially in the last couple of years, that Charles Manson may have been a tool of the CIA, where they supplied him with enough LSD to keep his, him busy. Because if you really do look at his criminality and what he did and the things that he did, there were a lot of times that should have sent him back to prison. And because he was on parole, even at the point where when the Tate murder happened, where he would get arrested for things and then walk right back out the back door. And there is a huge connection between, especially the medical clinics there, in the area, the Haight-Ashbury medical clinic. But we now know that the CIA was basically, it was a front for the CIA to control the hippies with and keep tabs on the underground. But again, when it comes to Charlie, I'd hate to think that I don't want to say that. It's not that I hate to think that he was a serial killer. I don't like Charlie. Charlie's just a nut job, and he's a showman. He had other people to do his bidding for him. It wasn't like Charlie went out and killed 15 people by himself. In Oklahoma, they did away with the with carry and conceal license. Did they? I didn't know that. Now, here in my state, we have open carry, and then we have concealed carry. Jim Jones was CIA MK Ultra. Was he? I don't know about that. But I know Jim Jones was very well, like I was saying earlier, he was very well connected with, especially through his clinics in the San Francisco area and in Los Angeles, because he started in one area and they worked all up and down the west coast of the United States with feeding the poor, giving medical care to the poor, and he reached out to the Carters, and the Carters reached out to him to help implement certain things. Harvey Milk was even he wasn't part of Jim Jones's group, but they supported each other, and the things that were going on in California, trying to take care of those who were underprivileged. Jim Jones was willing to talk to anybody or help anybody as long as he could convert them or talk to them into his group. With a lot of the Manson kids and grandkids, Charlie was a nut manipulator, easily distracted. Welcome to the stream. 6 months ago. Huh. Didn't know that. Kinshasa, Georgia requires all residents to have guns, no crime. Huh. Did not know that. Is it pronounced Kennesaw, Georgia? Friend of Tate said she saw her in France after her so-called death. That's interesting. I live in the same city where Sharon Tate grew up. She was the beauty queen here. She was also the queen of a couple of different, organizations or stuff like that before she moved to California. But she went to the local high school here. And the house that she grew up in is no longer there. I have a lot of people have asked me to go, take photos of it, show what it looked like. It's no longer there. The entire area has been bulldozed, and now is, I think they're condos, high-end condominiums, and it's all a gated community. I mean, even the landscape where the hill was is all gone. Kennesaw? Okay. Didn't know that. Al Capone started soup kitchens. Did he? I know Al Capone did an awful lot of things for the poor, especially during the Great Depression. I mean, he was making money left and right. I always thought it was funny that they never were able to catch him for, or convict him of any crimes that he may have committed, like the Bloody Sunday Valentine murder or whatever, but they got him for tax evasion. In Mexico, most of those get away. In certain countries, you can buy your freedom even if you are convicted of mass murder. Like that one guy in, I think it was in Belize or Honduras, who killed what 60 and got out in 20 years, or something like that. I can't remember. It was something ridiculous like that. He killed like 60 people and he was out in like 25 years or 20 years. Nuts. You got to go, my RN student. Yeah, my brother-in-law was telling me that and he's originally from the Philippines. He was telling me that you can in the Philippines you can buy your freedom if you got enough money. If you do something wrong there, murder someone, murder an entire family, you can buy your way out of it. Just how much money do you have? I mean, it's not like buy your way through like the legal proceedings. It's buy your way out of it by paying off the police and and the courts. You don't even have to go to trial. You just buy your way the hell out of it. Elaine pisses you off, huh? Elaine, she's that's a tragic case. There's a lot of things that happened to her that never should have happened, and she was basically the results of what happened to her over her lifetime. Will, ever think about writing a book, Carrie Ludwig? No. I've had people ask me to, but no, I've never thought about actually writing a book. If you're Kennedy or Clinton, you seem to get a pass on whatever you do. Yeah. Don't forget, Wrong Way Ted and his receptionist, secretary, or whatever it was. He definitely got away with it, and God only knows what Bobby and the rest of the family did, here and there. There's rumors that they were involved with a lot of stuff. Clintons. Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms I don't want to go down. I think Bill should have been locked up a long time ago. Don't think he never should. He never should have been made, been elected president. Him and his wife, after just looking at the the evidence in the Whitewater case, that should have been it right then and there for both of them. I don't know how they got out of that. Linda Harper, you have one of Elaine's handwritten letters to Dawn? Really? Wow. There's a museum in Texas that I know of that last time I checked they still collected memorabilia, or maybe it was just a collector. I think he has a museum, but he's a collector who collected a lot of the letters and stuff like that from her. The Bushes. I know George Bush bought himself out of quite a few sticky situations with daddy money. I'm still here. I haven't gone anywhere. Mark Furman. He lives in Idaho, or at least he did. Maybe he's living in Montana now. I'm not sure. There's a name I haven't heard of in a while, but good old Mark Furman. He wasn't anywhere near the racist that Johnny Cochran and them try to make him out to be. I'm not saying he wasn't a racist. It's just he wasn't as an awful of a person as they made him out to be. They over exaggerate a lot of that, what was going on in that case, to obviously to get OJ off, and it worked. That's cool, Linda. That you talk to Dawn. That is super cool. I looked into the Venmo interview. I just got it like a 5-second clip of you in the short part I saw. Are you talking about the Vice, the documentary, the Vice documentary? Short, nice. I'm still waiting to hear back from Vice UK on. I asked them for the link for the full 30-minute version. And I know it's aired. It aired on the East Coast of the United States, and I know it aired in the UK. But I haven't gotten a link from them yet, and they haven't responded back to my email. I'm hoping they get back to me. Yeah. Oh crap, Vice. Yes. Yeah. That was on the William Molt, the individual who was found in a retaining pond. He had been there behind the wheel of his car for 22 years, and he was 6 feet off the shoreline. Hi, Chatterbox. Hope you're doing well today, Chatterbox. Or doing better on the road to recovery. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Linda. I didn't know she was ill. Will, you ever heard of the old case of John List from the 1970s? Yeah. Yeah, Carrie, I did a video or two on John List. Interesting thing about John List's home. Do not believe the home is still there, but his mother was wealthy enough to actually have one of only 4 glass ceilings that were ever made by Tiffany and Company. That was in the, I guess, foyer area, I guess you'd call it. I do believe they took that out of the house before it was bulldozed, if it was. Because last time I checked on it, they were planning on the house was in disrepair, and they were trying to figure out if it could be saved or they were going to bulldoze it. You'll be back up tomorrow? Well, I just hope you're feeling better. I don't like anybody being, under the weather, sick. I know it happens, but still. We 231. Will mention it again later. Oh, her hubby passed away. Oh, I'm sorry. John List was a sick man. I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with it. I always wondered that, doing the research on John List. I always wondered, how did he think he was going to get away with that? Picked his kid up from what, baseball or some kind of practice, sports practice. Went and got ice cream. They went home and killed him. Deborah McKenzie. Hello from Scotland. Interesting thing about Scotland that I've just learned today. If you go to certain parts along the coastline of Scotland, you can find parts of North America. Parts of the good old USA are right there in the soil of Scotland. When the different plates, and everything moved, and the continents had floated around, and they collided into each other. Parts of America, well, North America, can be found in Scotland. I just learned that today. I was watching a thing on the History Channel about the movements and the formation of the Loch Ness and the tectonic plates and how they had moved and informed the Earth, how the continents were formed. 3 weeks you've been sick? I'm sorry. Good morning from Scotland, though. John List got away with it for a long time, right? Sort of. It depends on what you consider a long time. After he killed him, and then he tried to, dispose of the bodies, and then he changed his name and moved and tried to start over again. I wouldn't call it a long time, but he did get away with it for a good part of time. This isn't personal. I wanted to purchase a memorial stone for Aileen, if it's not too inappropriate for from a sympathetic stranger. That's really cool. Buried under a tree at dawns. I really do feel for her. I always wonder what kind of life would she have had if her father and her grandfather, her uncle, and all the men that were in her life wouldn't have done the things to her growing up. And I really think that what happened to her is tragic. It really is. And she never would have went to where she, the places that done the things that she did if it wasn't for what happened to her. Thank God for America's Most Wanted. My girlfriend wrote a poem about her. She cried the whole time she wrote it. Carolyn, I also like how nobody can own the coastline in Scotland and Ireland. I didn't know that. Nobody can own the coastline. I wasn't aware of that. Like I said, I just learned that today about the continent, and how the different tectonic plates, and that's basically along what the straight line of the Loch Ness and how it was formed, and everything moved over. One plate was moving over the top of another, but very interesting how Scotland was formed and some of the geological the geology of Scotland itself. Very interesting. It's on the History Channel. I don't know how old it is, but I mean, I haven't watched TV in the last time I watched anything on TV was I watched part of a documentary on what the hell's his name? Warren Buffett. I'm trying to think. It's like billionaire. What the hell's his name? Billionaire Warren Buffett. That was like 3 months ago. But I watched a little bit of the I caught pretty much all of it, but the Loch Ness and how Loch Ness, and monster and stuff like that couldn't be real because of how old the actual Loch Ness is versus how old the Plesiosaurus or whatever the hell he's supposed to be. But it wasn't really about Loch Ness monster. It was more about the geology of Scotland. No, it was on the History Channel. Is it on YouTube? On History Channel? That's cool. I didn't know that. You don't have cable? You have YouTube? We don't have cable either. And we had satellite, but then they couldn't. They pissed us off. So We got rid of that, and we have um, the internet, obviously, but we stream just about everything. It's cheaper. It's a heck of a lot cheaper, especially since almost nobody watches television in my house. My son might watch, PBS, but you can stream that on a tablet or on television or on a phone. Who was the very first serial killer? Dodge Den wants to know who the first serial killer is. That's hard to answer. Um, the oldest, most prolific and known serial killer would probably have to be, I don't know. Well, removing religion from it, because obviously Genghis Khan, was definitely a serial killer. He killed a lot of people in his warring actions to take over mass parts of the continent. Um, but as an individual who was by themselves serial killer, I famous, maybe Jack the Ripper would be like the most famous individual who worked by themselves. But more people have died in the name of Christianity than in the name of any other religion ever in the history of the world. And you think about the Christian Crusades, and everything else, and how people fought over if they were going to be able to have Christianity in their country or not have it. Or, I mean, a lot of people have died in the name of Christianity. Have you ever heard of Bible John? Deborah McKenzie? No. Well, at least I don't think I have. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I know somebody who used to go by a name that was something similar to that, but I don't know if it's the same person. Graduated from Washington State University, majored in criminal justice. I love your channel. Oh, Carrie, thank you. I'm a Washington State grad myself from Pullman, Washington. When I first went to school there on campus, I lived in Waller Hall, and then after I moved off of campus, I lived in Campus North CCN, which is out past the rugby field, going out towards Hyco. And then I also lived down by, well, it used to be called Lentil Park, but it's been renamed. But it's downtown Pullman. It's changed. Pullman's changed a lot. I was there just last year. Went back there for kind of like a mini reunion of friends. But yeah, majored in criminal justice. I didn't major in criminal justice. I majored in alcoholism and getting a minor in education, which was I was working towards my K-6 certificate to become an elementary school teacher. I was going to teach art. Orton Hall, and then Chinook Village Apartments, 1987. So that's just a little bit before me. I was 1989 to 92. But I had some fond memories of it. When I lived there, I first worked at a fine dining restaurant downtown that was about a block away. Well, maybe 2 blocks. You could cut through the block. But I worked at a vegetarian restaurant up on campus that was right next to the Coug. I worked at a fine dining restaurant that was called Jezebel's, like the whore from the Bible. That was a terrible mistake. The guy who owned that didn't want the damn place. And then I worked at Red Lobster. No, it was Sea Galley that opened up down on the other end of town. That was a terrible idea to have that in a college town. I have a double PhD in cannabis and Heineken. Yeah, I joked that I majored in alcoholism. I really didn't, party that much. So we used to host keggers at our apartment when we lived in CCN, and we would buy one keg of beer, and this was a scam. It was all a scam, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to break the bad news to you, but it was. And we would charge. You couldn't come in unless you bought a cup, and we didn't care if the keg was gone or not, but you had to pay to get in. And I lived with 4 engineering students. They were mechanical and chemical engineering students, and then me. I worked at the dining hall, the rotunda, between Orton and Rogers. And I stopped eating there when at the dining hall, the rotunda, once I moved out of Waller Hall. But yeah, if you haven't been back there recently, you should go. It's changed a lot. I mean, Pullman is huge compared to where it was back in the 80s and 90s. Drinking beer and watching Full Metal Jacket to be cute. Be cute. Quantum Vox Energy. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Sorry if I didn't welcome you earlier. Brooks Liu. Emmylou Dreyer was a notorious baby killer. 400 were credited to her. She got caught because she disposed of the corpses in the Thames River in brown shipping paper with her address on it. Wow. In Vietnam War movie Full Metal Jacket, there's a scene where a young lady of the night is offering her services to a group of American soldiers. In the process of negotiating a price with a young lady, and she shyly says that she will service American soldiers because they're known to be oh yeah, that was she. What is it? Her line when she first approached them. Me love you long time. Goodfellas and Casino. I don't know if I have a favorite movie that I of mine, but I've watched a lot of documentaries. I do. I mean, I have one movie I've watched. I watched it 365 times. I watched Ferris Bueller's Day Off 365 times. Now, I did that only because of a bet. My mom said if I watched it 364 times, that she would have the VHS bronzed. And she actually had a caster mold or whatever that was bronze. It wasn't the actual VHS tape, but she did have a bronze tape of it, and then they put the label on it for Ferris Bueller's Day Off, the VHS of that movie. Used to remember just about every part of it. Bible John evaded police for several years, raping and killing women in Scotland. It might be the same person that I actually am thinking of. Bible John. Maybe they knew him or I'm thinking of him as underneath a different name. Maybe it's his real name, but maybe the media called him Bible John. Horror flicks or thrillers. Hide. Norman Bates is a fictional character based on Ed Gein. You're sure you're not thinking of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that is based on Ed Gein? Because Norman Bates, is Alfred Hitchcock. That would be what, 1960s? When I'm just guessing, late 50s, 60s. Hitchcock. Norman Bates. It was the actual Norman Bates. Psycho. Well, that was Alfred Hitchcock. Was the original in black and white. In case you didn't know this, in the shower scene when Norman comes in the original and hacks her up with the knife. Alfred Hitchcock went through several different things to try to get blood to look like it was real blood that was running down the tub, but it was Hershey's chocolate syrup because it's in black and white. So you wouldn't actually know that it was Hershey's chocolate syrup, but that was what the splatter on the curtain and on the walls and the close up of the blood running down the drain mixing with the water, because it gave the right consistency for Alfred Hitchcock in that movie. And it was Hershey's chocolate syrup, the stuff they used to buy in a can. Not in the like the stuff squeeze bottle like you get it today, but it was in the can. They punctured holes in it, a series of holes in the top of it, and then used that to splatter it everywhere. They used chocolate syrup. Yep, Hershey's chocolate syrup. Psycho, 1960. Alfred Hitchcock. Was it both of them? I didn't know that about about Ed Gein being Then you learn something new every day, I guess, right? That's the best part about this is I learned something new. Great trivia, Will. Well, thank you, Carrie. I'm learning stuff right now myself. Real quantum. Tell more. Oh God, truth coming out right for the 401 community. I used to love that show, by the way. For some reason, it just reminded me of that Quantum Leap. But I've been feeding the pigeons. Okay. We should do trivia. I have an entire folder that is just filled full of trivia. We'll do that next weekend. Next Sunday, we'll do trivia. That sounds like fun. We haven't done that in a while. The last time we did it was serial killer trivia. I have quite a few different ones on. I probably have 25 questions somewhere in there I can do on serial killer trivia. So we'll do that. Look forward to that next Sunday. We'll do killer trivia. That sounds like fun. So mark your calendars. Next Sunday, 5:00. We'll do killer trivia. But I'm going to have to do a little before we start trivia next Sunday. Though I have a couple of case updates that I want to cover before then. But I want to take about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then after that we'll do killer trivia. But I'm going to have to wrap it up there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me for tonight. I have to get going because my daughter only has a short amount of time that she can be here to kind of watch her brother, and she has to get ready to go to work herself. But I'm sorry I have to cut this short tonight. But thank you everyone for joining me tonight. I hope you all have a terrific week ahead and stay safe out there. and stay warm because God, it is, especially in the Midwest, you guys got dumped on if you guys were there. Crimes of the century. I'm sorry if I didn't say hello to you earlier. Welcome to the stream. I hope you catch it and rewind here in a little bit. Quantum Vortex. You should watch my taco podcast episode from this week. My wife talks about a unidentified flying object that her and my daughter saw. That is in this week's podcast. But the podcast that it is on YouTube on Taco Podcast is the episode we're answering viewer questions. But somebody asked if she had ever seen supernatural event or a ghost or a spirit, and she talked about the UFO that her and my daughter saw. So, bye everyone. Have a good night.